This is one from my mom. Growing up, my mom used to hide bakery goods, and it's kind of doing the yo-yo diet thing all the time. And I found it kind of funny at the time. We'd go on these hunts for mom's donut holes and rolls, and then I go home and find myself hiding a package of Oreos from time to time, and I'm going, okay, I get it. And then I look at my own children, and I start to see, I've got my oldest being pretty tenderhearted and pretty sensitive and just sweet little naive guy. And then you get to Deacon, my youngest son, who's that firecracker. And man, I don't even know what to say with him. He was born at home. Some of you have heard this story before, and I think it was actually even a part of a devotion 8 years ago. But I always tell people, he was born at home, and no, it wasn't one of those progressive things or a water birth or anything like that. He just didn't make it to the hospital. So my brother-in-law, they would always say, well, Nate, you're just too cheap. So that's why you wanted to save on the bill, and you just wanted to save a little money. Well, the reality was my wife had gone to her appointment that morning, and I didn't know what at the time what it means when they strip your membranes. But what I subsequently have learned, it means the baby is coming within a matter of hours. So there we are. It's about midnight, and my wife starts saying, I'm having some contractions. She's 3 or 4 weeks early, so I didn't think a whole lot about it at the time. And she goes, well, I'm just going to go take a shower. And so she went, took a shower, and a few minutes later, she starts yelling for me. She's like, Nate, I think it's time. I think it's time. I think he's coming. And I'm like, no, get in the car, get dressed. We're leaving. We are leaving. And she's like, no, I'm not going anywhere. So I start waking up at the time my 4-year-old son and like, hey, get dressed. We got some places to be. And in the meantime, she starts yelling, he's coming. He is coming. And so I walk in, and sure enough, he's sitting there on the floor. So I scoop him up. My wife is in shock. I'm holding this bloody mess of a baby, and we're on with 911, and they're like, well, do you have anything to cut the cord? I'm like, well, of course not. I didn't exactly plan this. And they go, well, can you give the baby to your wife and, go get a shoelace? And so I mind you, I passed the baby through my wife, who's on the floor still, umbilical cord, pass the baby back to my wife, and I run and rip out a shoelace so I can tie things off. So in the meantime, the 911 dispatcher is talking me through all this, and I can hear the sirens coming from the hospital down the way, or the ambulance coming our way. And they get there, 4 or 5 big firemen walk in, and again, meanwhile, my wife is still not have a lick of clothes on, and they look at me, and we got this, sir. Give him the baby. And they're like, hey, Nate, would you like to cut the cord? And I one of the stories I'll never forget. I said, no, I think I've done enough. So long story short, my youngest son is quite the firecracker, and I have no idea what things he's going to grow up to do or be, and what type of traits he's going to portray of mine. But I know it's going to be something pretty interesting. It's been a pretty incredible year. And, as I reflect on all the different ways that I've been blessed, certainly with the team of colleagues that I have the privilege to work with every day, the locations in the field that just work so diligently to take care of our residents, the colleagues over on our acute side. I can't be more humbled and proud to be part of this organization. I think of family in a very broader sense. And yes, I think we're all going to develop those idiosyncrasies, some of which we saw here in our funny progressive video. But, it's those idiosyncrasies that make us special. It's what gives us personality, and what makes work a little more interesting each and every day. So as we've often said this last year, sometimes the brightest stars shine in the darkest of nights. I truly feel like that's been true as we've come together, we've worked through challenges, and while we still have a long way to go, I know that we're going to have some awesome people working side by side to continue to move this work forward and to live out our mission. If you'll join me in a word of prayer, and we'll close. Lord, thank you for the gift of family and all the incredible ways that you reveal yourself through them. Help us to continue to lean on you in times of trial and celebrate all the gifts that you've bestowed upon each of us, even if they're not always easy to see. Be with all of our leaders as they diligently guide, coach, and mentor their teams through one of the most difficult times the industry's ever seen. and just ask that you be there for all those folks and the intentions they carry in their hearts today. We lift them up to you. In your name, amen. Thank you all for joining us here today. And again, remember, it only gets better from here. Take care. Have a great weekend.